Something that I find incredibly interesting is that there is a huge crossover in the player base of The Legend of Zelda and Hollow Knight. This can clearly be seen in the number of Zelda YouTubers who decided to make Hollow Knight content. This means that the creators who are passionate about Zelda also found that passion in Hollow Knight. And it also means that their audiences who already liked Zelda found Hollow Knight just as interesting. Finding overlapping fan bases like this is not nearly as common as you would think, even within the same companies. I could sit here yapping about Mario lore and nobody would really care. The minute I start talking about Hollow Knight, everyone locks in. This overlap is so interesting to me that I couldn't help but make this video breaking down exactly why these games that are completely different skill levels and genres appeal to such similar audiences. The most obvious reason that people point to for the similarities between these games is the lore. As a lore-centered YouTuber, I have found myself knee-deep in the worlds of these games, and I believe I've found the common ground. Both Hollow Knight and The Legend of Zelda follow a 3-tier structure to how they deliver their story and world building in their respective games. They both start on a surface level. This is the most basic version of the story and what the majority of players will experience. It is the bare minimum information that needs to be communicated to the player for them to complete the game and know why they're doing it. This is where characters like the Deku Tree tell you that there's an evil dude and you gotta stop them, or where Hornet tells you that you can stop the infection by entering the black egg. This exposition gives you an end goal and turns mindless gameplay into a mission. These moments are designed to be hard to miss and easily communicated. Next, we get to the good stuff. This is where the real story starts to come together. In Breath of the Wild, this would be the difference between doing only the main quest with Divine Beasts and Calamity Ganon, or getting all of the memories. In Hollow Knight, this would be the difference between the Sealed Vessel ending and the Dream No More ending. This layer is for players who enjoy a narrative and tend to lean towards completion rather than just playing the game. It's where the player can begin to form an emotional connection to the world that they're playing in. On my first playthrough of Hollow Knight, I just did all of the Dreamers and fought the Hollow Knight. I thought the gameplay was cool, but I really wasn't aware of the story. Once I started putting the pieces together for the Dream No More ending, suddenly I was invested in who I was, who Hornet was, and why I was fighting the Hollow Knight. The same is true for Breath of the Wild. Gathering all of the memories let me build a relationship with Zelda and made my journey to Hyrule Castle meaningful rather than just a quest marker. This layer of story building is what our average player will experience. It's told through the whole game and not just in 1 or 2 spots. You could technically beat the game without doing this, but most people wouldn't want to. This then leads us to the 3rd tier, which is for nutjob YouTubers and hardcore fans. This is all of the random dialogue and signposts that just kind of exist in the game. It doesn't give you new items, it doesn't give you secret cutscenes. It's just world building for the sake of making the game feel alive. Did you know that the developers for Breath of the Wild went out of their way to design the Akala Citadel in a way that it could be overrun by Guardians despite being the most heavily armed spot in the game? Did you know that the developers made Fort Hateno be a choke point where Guardians would not be able to quickly pass through, allowing for the cutscene with Zelda wiping them all out as they congregate in a single spot? It adds nothing to the main narrative, and you don't get anything for piecing this together. If these designs were different, nobody would have cared. But the developers made it make sense, and in doing so, made the world feel alive. It's so cool to either read about this in Creating a Champion, or even piece it together yourself. The same applies to world building in Hollow Knight. The City of Tears is constantly raining. This could have just been a cool effect that went unexplained and nobody would have cared that much, but it doesn't go unexplained. We learn about and can visit the blue lake above the City of Tears, which causes the perpetual rainfall. This system of providing lore isn't exactly unique to these series, but they are structured in such a similar way with such similar themes that it feels the same. Which leads me into my next point. Hollow Knight and Zelda have the same themes. Both Nintendo and Team Cherry go out of their way to make sure that we as the player feel completely screwed at the start of the games. Link is always young and immediately faced with challenges that are completely out of his depth. Ocarina of Time gives us a 10-year-old Link who fights Queen Goma and watches his father figure die, all within the first hour of gameplay. He got his first sword like 20 minutes ago. In Hollow Knight, we are intentionally made very small. The majority of enemies we face are larger than us, and in many cases better armed and better trained. Everyone calls us little or short or any other variation of small. Despite being unqualified and often having no idea what we're doing, we are given astronomically difficult tasks. In Zelda, this is often to go and fight the most powerful demon in the land who possesses the power of the gods. In Hollow Knight, it's to go fight the sun. The point of the stories is that we are facing an enemy that we should not be able to beat. This makes it even more interesting because instead of just arbitrarily power scaling our character so they can obliterate the enemy for no reason, we slowly enact a plan to outsmart our enemy. In Zelda, we gather sages to seal away the threat, and we imbue a sacred blade with energy to fight against darkness. In Hollow Knight, we embrace our true nature and call upon our heritage, and in Silksong, we gain power from other creatures and set traps to face enemies that are stronger than we are. We don't just work harder than our enemy, we work smarter, and we have the humility to ask for help. Both of these series play off the themes of small people making a huge impact in the world. This is an incredibly hopeful message that can appeal to such a wide audience. The overlap can be stretched even further when considering games like Breath of the Wild and Ocarina of Time having a kingdom that is already fallen, just like Hallownest and Farloom. The melancholy setting adds to our hopeless state. It's a powerful feeling when we rise to the occasion despite having all of the odds stacked against us. Speaking of having the odds stacked against us, Hollow Knight and Silksong are very difficult games. This is one of the strangest parts about the overlap between the two fandoms to me. Zelda games are not known for their difficulty. There are many people who say that Zelda games are too easy. It is really confusing that these two series share such a large audience when the challenges they give you are in completely different categories. What I've come to find is that the difficulty really doesn't matter, because the way they present their challenges is the same. The common ground is that you get to choose your difficulty. I don't mean this in the sense of challenge modes you unlock like Steel Soul or Heroes mode. I mean in the vanilla gameplay, you are given ample opportunity to decide how hard you want the game to be. Let's take the original Zelda as an example. The narrative of this game generally encourages you to find the dungeons and get the Triforce, but you have an entire open world to explore. Before entering a single dungeon, you can get the white sword and the blue ring, which significantly reduce the difficulty of the dungeons. This same method of progression is presented in Hollow Knight. You can try and progress as fast as possible, or you can take your time and find things that make you more powerful and therefore reduce the challenge of the bosses. And this is the magic of both of these series. Becoming more powerful is oftentimes the fun part. This is not a traditional RPG where you increase your stats by killing the same enemies over and over again and grinding XP. You become stronger by exploring. These games reward you for being curious about anomalies in the environment by giving you items that directly raise your health and increase your damage output. Past that, exploring can yield results like charms and tools in Hollow Knight, or interesting items in Zelda. Both series even boast arbitrary collectibles. In Zelda, you might get Korok seeds or secret seashells, but in Hollow Knight, you get grubs and fleas. You don't have to go out of your way to get these though. You are more than welcome to bang your head against the same challenge over and over again until you win, but the game lets you choose these options. These aren't exactly brand new ideas, but the way that these games execute the same principles is so close that it's no wonder that the gameplay is appealing to the same group of people. These worlds are begging you to get lost in them and find cool secrets. One aspect that makes this so easy is the art style. Neither of these series even tries to use a realistic art style. Please ignore Twilight Princess for a minute. These are very heavily stylized games that lean into strange and unique character designs. The developers are more focused on communicating an emotion rather than adding ray-traced lighting to individual hairs. You can fight me on this if you want, but I think Toon Link is one of the best things to happen to the Zelda series, as the developers explored the best way to deliver the themes and emotions they wanted to the player. Past this, the environments are overflowing with cute Easter eggs and details that weren't exactly necessary, but certainly appreciated. The ruins and statues in Hollow Knight do half the work in the storytelling, and the same is true for Zelda. These worlds are alive, and the art directors made sure that you can feel it. Even though these games don't seem very similar on the surface, they really have an insane amount of common ground, and people can tell. When viewed through this lens, it's obvious why people who first found wonder and excitement while exploring Hyrule and its adjacent kingdoms have found those same feelings once again in Hallownest and Faron. I love both of these series, and I cannot wait to find another one that can give me the same experience that they have.